Knock knock, who's there? Content! I swear to God, the worst part of my day is making this bed so that the background doesn't look like I live in a cave. Alright, listen to me. Listen, sit down. Take a seat. Take a seat. Let me tell you a little something about Overlord. Where were you the day that Overlord came out? I'll tell you where you weren't. The movie theater. But I was there. I was there. So let me paint a picture for you. So I'm in college watching the Super Bowl with some friends when this happens.
Possible earthquake near the Statue of Liberty.
Stop.
We reacted, we were excited. I mean, no trailer in my recent memory can compare to something like that. It was a 6 stealth drop. I can't think of any other time that a movie's done that before. Just saying, hey, the movie's out now. I mean, sure, nowadays it's super commonplace where they just drop movies on streaming and you probably don't hear about it until it's actually out already. But back then it was pretty cool a few years ago. It was a new, innovative kind of marketing strategy, which is kind of commonplace for these Cloverfield movies. Considering the whole ARG situation with the first movie and also 10 Cloverfield Lane. This is goes right hand in hand. Commonplace for what we're doing with the Cloverfield franchise. We're all excited. After the game, we go back to my place, turn the movie on, and it's ass. It's bad. Cloverfield Paradox is a bad movie. But not all is lost, because my friends and I are injecting cope into our veins. There's a rumor that there's another Cloverfield movie coming out later that year, something called Operation Cloverfield. Later, they would change the title to Overlord, but this would be the movie that we're looking for. If you rearrange the letters to Overlord, you can see that it spells out Cloverfield. We wait the few months, we get to the movie theater, we sit down to watch Overlord, and it's not a Cloverfield movie. It's better. At the time of writing this, Halloween is right around the corner, which is perfect timing because what could be scarier than the Third Reich? Overlord! Alright, so let's get into it. First of all, premise alone, Overlord's got me. Hell, just the title has me. Overlord. That's awesome. Just look at it, the old-timey text and the logo. Overlord was selling itself on this weird genre mashup idea, which was interesting because it's combining the old-timey World War II pictures that you know and love with Nazi zombies. Period piece drama, B-movie horror, Overlord. It's not typically a combination you see in movies because, I mean, when you think about it, these World War II period pieces can be some of the most expensive, involved productions that require so much planning and particular props and set pieces, where B-movie horror is the total opposite of that. A lot of times it's just using whatever you have access to, super low budget, and how filmmakers get their start a lot of the time.
Swallow this.
So combining something that needs a whole lot of nuance with something that's usually complete nonsense but really fun is just kind of an unconventional idea, and I love it. And it's not as stupid as it sounds, okay? Just give me a second. With a smaller budget than you might expect... Oh, really? Okay. Well, with a smaller budget than you might expect, Overlord manages to be weirdly more sentimental than you might expect. Especially when you hear the premise, Nazi Zombies the movie. You don't think, oh, right, they're pulling at my heartstrings with this one. To its credit, it tries to be more than what you might expect from such a kind of a stupid-sounding premise. It takes itself not seriously, but it takes the characters seriously while kind of having fun with a lot of the set pieces and situations. Your brain might immediately go to full gore, schlock, action fest, but to its credit, the movie tries to be a little bit more than that, fulfilling the promise of its premise, but not in a way that makes the whole thing seem like a stupid joke. Instead, it spends the first half, of its runtime establishing the setting and characters, showing everybody's dynamic within our team instead of jumping right into the zombie slaying. Some of the film's strongest moments are when it's just being a World War II movie through this kind of stylized horror lens. With an idea as huge and ambitious and kind of stupid as Overlord's, naturally some things are going to fall to the wayside a bit, and in this case I think it's the characters. What this movie does smartly, though, is that they use these kind of character tropes and archetypes to quickly get these people across to you, so we're not spending so much time delving into who they are or the particulars of their character. You get them really quick so that we can move on to the next thing. Some things need to fall to the wayside a bit. We gotta make room for some of the crazy Nazi zombie nonsense. A drawback of that, of course, is that we're not particularly focused on fleshing out a lot of these guys. Sometimes they do come across as one note or pretty simple. Each character serves their purpose, and that's about it. And that's all they need to do. You get the wisecracking Ayo Italian guy.
Oh!
There's the soldier talking about his hopes and dreams and how he just wants to ride home to mama. I wonder what's gonna happen to him.
Use some of your pictures in it. That way you get a cut of the profits.
And then there's Wyatt Russell. Wyatt Russell kicks ass in this. He's punching Nazis like he is Captain America. Oh yeah, and this French lady, and boy is interested in baseball, and French lady is, you know, her life sucks. We get to kick ass later, so that's kind of cool. And boy is there to be kidnapped. Talk about baseball. Ugh! Why would you do that? Why? We even get a charmingly evil Nazi guy, of course, who's played by... Oh my god.
Big cock.
Fucking Pilu. We love Pilu. It's so great to see Pilu. It looks like he's having a great time. This guy just loves being evil dudes. Nothing wrong with that. Unfortunately, one of the weaker characters is our main one, Boyd, who kind of just acts like our eyes and ears in this whole operation. He's got kind of half a thing about being a pacifist, but it's not really given too much time. He talks to the French lady about it, but they don't really focus on it, and then it doesn't really lead to much. Kind of weird because the dynamic between Boyd and Wyatt Russell's character isn't really strong. You think they're going to set up Wyatt Russell to be some kind of other antagonist, but they subvert that a little bit, which is kind of nice. But I really wish that they used Wyatt Russell's character to kind of put pressure on Boyd's pacifist thing, if that's what they were going to do, but that doesn't really happen. By the end, they kind of end up like co-protagonists anyway, which is a little bit weird, so I'm just wondering if maybe they could have been folded into the same character, or I don't know, it feels a little redundant the way they did it. It's also hinted at that Boyd maybe has a crush on French girl, but then also that doesn't go anywhere. So they connect seemingly just to get us to care about the kid that gets captured, but you know, he's a kid. I feel like we're all gonna kind of care anyway. I wish they used this time to maybe flesh out a little more of Pilu's character, or give Wyatt Russell some more stuff to do, but they don't. Yeah, not the most compelling characters on Earth, but I think they're all in service of what the movie's trying to do on a larger scale and the construction of it, which I actually think is really clever. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this movie's kind of construction and its priorities. Again, I'm not sure if this is always how it was meant to go or if this was kind of the vision for the movie earlier on, but let's get into it. This movie uses cliches, stereotypes, tropes, stuff you've seen before, all in service to lull you into this sense of security that you've seen this kind of World War II movie before. So that when the B-movie stuff comes in and the horror stuff comes in, it's a complete shock and a complete subversion. It's almost like they're lulling you into this false sense of security, like they're just going to give you a Saving Private Ryan or like a Hacksaw Ridge type thing, so that when you get zombies, it's a complete shakeup. Yes, the first zombie doesn't appear till like an hour into this movie. Some would say that half my Nazi zombie movie is just a, you know, nice looking but kind of generic World War II movie, but this is all important. You're put in a normal movie version of World War II that you've seen 100 times before, so that when things are thrown out of whack and shit hits the fan, you have a baseline of what grounded kind of looks like. You have a baseline so that the crazy stuff seems even crazier. So talking a bit more about kind of the structure of this movie and how it sells you on what it's doing, I wanted to get into some techniques that it uses in order to sell you on the scale of the whole thing. This movie was made on a budget of $38 million, which sounded like a little until I looked up World War II movie budgets, and I guess they have that stuff just laying around. Music does so much to sell you on the scale of this thing. It's so grandiose and kind of overly ridiculously epic that you don't even realize like 70% of the movie takes place in this attic or this little base. Also, another technique the movie uses to kind of sell you on the scale of it despite its budget is front-loading the movie with these kind of bigger action set pieces. You know, the plane going down, getting shot up, to the parachuting, right to the minefield. A lot of that is front-loaded with kind of this heavy action stuff that you don't realize most of the movie is kind of hanging out and kind of talking until you get to the end with all the crazy lab zombie stuff. Front-loading the movie with these kind of probably really expensive set pieces does a lot to sell you on the scale and the scope of this world, so that when we're just following these characters through this small town and in this attic, you believe that there's a lot more going on out there, not just these two locations, and that's really smart. It all goes to show that this movie has its priorities straight, production-wise and construction-wise. And this is all summed up in this great moment right here, where these guys are attacking the front of this kind of base. Rather than like a typical action set piece shootout thing, our characters come up with a clever plan to wipe out all the guys in like one move. They tie and tape this guy's mouth shut, throw him on a motorcycle, and blow him up. But wait, Hang on, how does that work? Couldn't he, like, control the motorcycle? He could also just not drive in since he knows he's rigged with a bomb. I mean, I guess you could argue that they taped his hand in a position where the throttle's going, but then why does it stop at the exact moment they need it to stop once he's through the gate? Can he just not drive the motorcycle through there because he knows that he's got a bomb on him? Maybe they filled it with just enough gasoline to get him through the gate, and then they knew they were gonna... It doesn't make a lot of sense because they don't care about it making sense. They care about it being awesome. Same goes for later on when this zombie has no lungs but can still talk. It's got no body parts. No, how does it do that? It's fine, okay? Rule of cool, baby. Movie doesn't care about that. Rule of cool, baby. Remember Indiana Jones? And he goes flying off that cliff and he's back up there? How'd that happen? Fuck you. That's how. This movie has one of my favorite zombie designs ever. It's like this and the tar thing from Return of the Living Dead, and that's it, and they're great. I mean, just look at him. Look at him. He's beautiful. They know what they had. They put him on every poster. He's in every thumbnail. They put him in the trailer. They know what they're doing. Pilu.
Big cock.
It's even better in the actual movie. When all seriousness goes completely out the fucking window, Pilu's in the room, takes a few hits of the good stuff, and we get a full frontal view of his zombie self. Camera pushes in, complete with a dun dun dun. Marvelous. Let me just say this, alright? So the way this movie deals with Nazi zombies, a thing that we've all seen a million times before, I'm sure, is actually really unique and kind of clever. Zombies and even Nazi zombies have obviously been done to death, but what Overlord does is a little bit different in its execution, and that's that it goes full ridiculous with it. And the key in how this movie uses these kind of zombie tropes is that it's intentionally cheesy. It's ridiculous, and it revels in it. When it makes that turn to a B movie, when it fully commits, it fully commits. And it doesn't ask you to take that part of it seriously, which is the great thing about it. Ah yes, glowing green, Reanimator, Attack on Titan fluid, can't get enough of the stuff. It covers the whole zombie thing in a nice, even coat of throwback ridiculousness that just makes it work for me, and is a nice pair to all the very serious World War II stuff. What I don't love is when it dips back into the war stuff after we've already made the switch to cheesy B movie, which it does a few times. After the initial setup and midpoint, the movie's meant to shift into B-horror mode. We're done with the setup. We get the joke. Move on. But nope. You get the whole zombies being the result of Nazi experiments to make the perfect soldier thing, which we've all seen a million times, and that's all fine and good, blah, blah, blah. But do we really need an evil villain speech from Pilu? Do we need him to talk about how he's become the perfect soldier and he will usher in a new blah, 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 blah. Like, shut up. Have something better to say.
Big cock.
And we're still doing the third act rescue mission, plant the bomb operation thing. I don't know. I guess I was hoping for more shit to go wrong in this mission, like the whole town overrun by the end, like it's Derice on World at War or something, but no, it's only a few zombies and then running from an explosion and we're fine. Overall, it's a little confusing as to what context to take the movie in. You could take it in the context of kind of cheesy B-horror movie with kind of a cool war coat of paint on it, but that's not really what the movie is. When you go back and watch it, I was surprised to see how much of the movie is just a war movie. Does it satisfy as a zombie movie? I mean, there's really only 2 or 3. It doesn't have the whole packs and hordes that you get from a Dawn of the Dead or a Dawn of the Dead or a Dawn of the Dead. I don't know if it really satisfies. I'm not sure it would satisfy a lot of people coming off of Derice fucking frying motherfuckers with Rick Toppin's Wonderwap TG2. Then at the end they set up sequel bait talking about zombie Hitler, which feels illegal to talk about and then not show me. And then it just ends. Wild. So why do I find myself on this movie's side? I think he's just got balls, man. Making a legit World War II zombie story while still doing some work to make it feel like a heartfelt and almost sentimental adventure, it's a bold thing to try. Seemingly very ambitious for its budget, and for that it stands out. At the end of the day, nothing in this movie doesn't work, probably because they're very careful with the risks they take. Zombie craziness is really the only drop of lunacy in this movie, and I could have gone for a lot more. Because what's really there from like the deranged part of this movie is really great. That being said, by the end, it does feel like this movie is missing something. And if you said that you left this movie unsatisfied, I could see where you're coming from. Overall, still a really enjoyable time, but it does feel like this movie is missing a certain something. And that maybe it overpromised a little bit with its premise. J.J. Abrams' name was all over the marketing of this thing, and to me it makes a lot of sense, because in its own way, it kind of almost is its own Cloverfield movie, especially if they were going to keep up the kind of genre-hopping thing that they were doing with the franchise. I mean, it's definitely another Bad Robot movie. It falls right into those. Oftentimes they make these kind of genre mashup movies, often loaded with sentimentality. It's interesting though, because a lot of these Bad Robot movies almost seem to be movies about other movies instead of being about what they're actually about. And maybe that has something to do with the piece that I'm missing here. But I still really enjoyed our weirdly wholesome Nazi zombies movie. Anyway, that's all I got. So, leave. Beat it. See ya.
Big talk.